Good morning, everyone. How are you today? Today I want to talk about unconditional permission to eat and being able to give yourself that permission, working through our body and trusting our body today, okay? So I'm going to help you through this because a lot of times we are too afraid to just allow ourselves to eat whatever we want because, we think we're going to go crazy, right? And that's completely normal and natural feeling. And so we're going to go through this today and talk a little bit more about how you can actually give yourself unconditional permission to eat, which is part of intuitive eating, which is just a really, really nice thing about it. So I'm Kelsie, Michaud, health and life coach, and if you come on, please say hello so I know you're here, and I'd love to see you, say hi to you, and if you catch the replay, #replay, so I know you're here, and I can say hi to you as well. So let's jump in. Unconditional permission to eat it's a lot more complicated than just eat whatever you want when you want, okay? Ultimately, eating whatever, whenever, without knowing how it feels in your body, that can and you kind of leaving you just feeling like crap. And that's pretty much the opposite of intuitive eating, because when you eat intuitively, you feel really good. You feel really good in your body. And the goal is to actually help you to find what does feel really good for you and what feels really good for your body. And not just in a physical sense, okay? In a overall mental sense as well, okay? Because it's about making that mind-body connection, because the holistic approach here is the whole person, mind and body, okay? And that's what intuitive eating takes on. So because really eating too much or even too little of anything, it's not very satisfying. It's not a satisfying way to eat. But regardless of how much we're actually eating, if food comes with all these sets of rules, or if we have to negotiate, with ourselves or with the food, just to earn the food, that's also not a very satisfying way to eat. So then you end up feeling guilty if you break one of those food rules, right? We feel guilty, we feel shamed, we just feel horrible about ourselves, and then we end up feeling miserable, or at least I did, when I was restricting way too much. And that feeling of being deprived and restricted, which usually ends up backfiring as binge eating or eating too much. Okay, that's usually what happens. And I'd actually plan it. I plan my binge, and it was not a good thing, and it didn't make me feel good. So why did I do it? And I'd ask myself that over and over again, and I'd be like, oh, I can't wait to get back to, this week of restricting again. Really? I couldn't wait to get back to that, and then so I could plan my next binge to feel like crap again. Not a good way to live. Not a healthy way to live. Not mentally or physically. So I'm going to talk to you more about how you can actually get away from that, how I've gotten away from it. And now I allow myself all these foods, but in a way that feels really good to my body, mentally and physically. So by giving ourselves unconditional permission to eat, we are actually allowing ourselves some space to find out what makes our bodies feel really good. Because if every time you eat a cookie, all you feel is guilt and anxiety, how do you actually know how the cookie feels in your body? You don't. Okay, think about that for a moment. Unconditional permission to eat allows you to actually look at the food with curiosity, okay? What would I really like to eat right now? What is sounding good to me? What's going to give me the most pleasure and satisfaction and energy to fuel my body? What's going to, what kind of flavors? What flavors am I craving right now? Do I want sweet? Do I want salty? Do I want spicy? Do I want creamy? And putting all of this into practice, yeah, it's not always easy. But I have some suggestions for you to help you through this, because it's not easy, and it is a practice, and with any practice takes time to get good at, right? So first we need to take the food down off of that pedestal. All right, we put way too many foods way up there on that pedestal, way high on that pedestal even, right? And no food is good or bad. No food is good or bad. It's not healthy, it's not unhealthy, all right? It's not clean, it's not dirty. It's not real, and it's not fake, all right? All food is a mixture of nutrients, and they all serve a different purpose at different times. But when we categorize foods in this way, we create this like food hierarchy, okay? That's where they get put on that pedestal. You know, we put, hey Angela, how are you? Good morning. Thanks for hopping on, and I'm going to be sending your action guide as soon as I'm done here, FYI. So we put these bad foods up on a pedestal, okay? And it makes them like that forbidden fruit almost. And when we tell ourselves that we can't have something, what happens? That's all our brains can think about, right? Then when we inevitably, because we're going to eat it at some point, when we end up eating it, when we eat that food, then we feel like crap for it, right? And it's that vicious cycle. But the reality is, food really has no bearing on you as a person, okay? So considering the food good or bad, or you good or bad, it's not a thing. We need to wipe that away. So try taking the foods down off of that pedestal, and don't label them. Don't label them as good or bad, okay? Don't say that you're good or bad, okay? Good morning, Beth Ann. How are you? So remember, you're just a person who eats, and you're just a person who just eats food. Use neutral descriptions to describe foods. You know, there's fruits, there's vegetables, there's dessert, there's grains, there's snacks. Okay, you get the idea where I'm going here? Okay, so that's number one. Take all that down off the pedestal and get rid of those labels. Get the label off yourself and get the label off your food. All right. Also, number two, you should bring some pleasure to your food. All right. Think about it. You know, how many times have you tried to feel satisfied by kidding yourself that the chocolate covered rice cakes were as satisfying as the Kit Kat that you really wanted, right? And how many times do you actually eat the rice cakes and then still eat the Kit Kat anyway? Get it? Yeah. So the point is that when we eat those less satisfying foods, we're much less likely to just stop at that point where we're comfortably full from feeling content than if we had just eaten what we really wanted to begin with. So then you end up eating more in the long run. So just give yourself what your body is wanting and needing and asking for and craving, and give it to it in a nice normal amount, okay? A Kit Kat isn't going to make or break you. It's not a big deal. But if you're depriving it and then giving yourself the rice cake instead, now you're eating the Kit Kat and the rice cake. Now you just added extra carbs onto your Kit Kat. All right, so if you just had the Kit Kat to begin with, you would have been satisfied and you would have stopped there. You'd been good to go. Because people are so worried that if you're so worried that if you give yourself permission to eat these satisfying foods, that you're not going to be able to stop. And I get that. And yeah, that might happen at first, but the reality is that when you can eat the things that actually bring you pleasure and joy without the restriction or that deprivation, those foods are going to eventually lose their appeal. They're going to lose their power. All right. Good morning, Sharon. How are you? So you might even forget that you opened that bag of cookies. All right. So try allowing yourself to eat the foods you enjoy with curiosity, without judging them or judging yourself. Okay. Think about it. You know, how much is too much? How much is too little? How much is just right? Because if you don't eat, you know, we don't want to eat too much, but there comes a point where you don't want to eat too little either, because then you're still not satisfied and you're still continuing to search, and then you're going to end up eating more than what you would have again in the long run. Okay, so you want to make sure you're hitting that sweet spot right there. because maybe you still need something to satisfy that craving. Good morning, Stacy. So, for example, I've told this story before, you might have heard me, but I'm gonna tell it again. I had bought a Kit Kat. It was one of those new ones, the dark chocolate and the mint, whatever. My husband wanted to try it, so I said, all right, got it. We stuck it in the fridge, and it stayed there for weeks. It literally stayed there for weeks. We kept forgetting about it. We'd open the fridge, be like, oh yeah, that Kit Kat's still there. We still gotta try that. Because I eat intuitively, and I give myself full permission to eat whatever I want, whenever I want. And it was not a thing. It didn't matter. It was just another food. And luckily, because of, you know, all the chemicals and preservatives that are in it, it lasted a long time in the fridge. But eventually we got to it. We tried it. We liked it. We split it. We even split it 3 ways with my daughter. And it was good. We enjoyed it. And we moved on. Okay? So that's where you need to give yourself that full permission. It comes into play. Eventually, you can eat like that, and you're not going crazy over the chocolate or the cookies or the chips or whatever your thing is. Eventually, it's just going to be another food. It takes time, yes, for sure. It can be scary at first to even put that thought in your head, but eventually you're going to get past it. It's almost like part of the process, like you have to go crazy on it to get past it and be done with it, and just have it in small amounts whenever you do feel like it. Okay, so don't be scared. Number 3, actually eat when you're hungry. Okay, I want you to eat when you're hungry, for goodness sake, because a lot of times we don't. You know, that comes into play with actually listening to ourselves, listening to our bodies, and all these signals and cues that it's sending us. And it's for survival. It's a survival mechanism that we feel hunger. Okay, but we all know that we don't want to get too hungry, because we know exactly what happens, right? We either make poor food choices, or we overeat and set ourselves up for a binge. So, I mean, hands up if you have flat out like ignored your hunger in the past. And pretty much every client I've worked with has, you know, at some point totally ignored their body. Including myself, you know, this can cause, like I said, the cravings to build up, and they build to a point that we end up feeling out of control. Okay, that compulsive and just super intense feeling around food. And then that's where we may start labeling ourselves. Forget the good and bad. Then we start labeling ourselves as emotional and compulsive and stress eaters. But actually, our bodies are just really pissed off at us because we just had a salad for lunch, and we really wanted something else. That's not what we were craving. That was not satisfying for us. Sharon, sometimes I don't eat all day. Oh my goodness. Then I stuff myself. Sharon, that is not, yes, that's definitely going to set you up for being so hungry later on in the day. I don't know what your schedule is like throughout the day, but let's try to fit something in. Try to fit something in there, even if, you know, I know you can be crazy busy. I mean, we have kids, we have work, we have, you know, we have life, we have life in general, right? And we still need to eat. Our bodies need fuel, okay? Because if your body is being restricted and being restricted that much, it feels like something's wrong, and it's going to be a little off balance, a little off kilter, and I'm sure your mood isn't the best if you're not feeding it through or fueling it throughout the day, okay? Because it's going to feel off balance, and that can show, you know, in our mood. We get that like hangry or just moody kind of thing. It happens on the weekends, okay? Regardless of when it happens, our bodies still need fuel, all right, throughout the day. And it's, like I said, it's our survival mechanism. So you don't want to set yourself up for that binge, because then when you do finally give your body something, it's just going to hold on to it, because it's like, oh, I'm finally getting food, and I don't know when I'm going to get it again next, but I'm going to hold on to this. I don't want to let it go. So that's just the chemistry and the science behind how all of it works, okay? So even if you can give yourself even like grab a protein bar, a handful of nuts, some almonds, walnuts, macadamia nuts, whatever, a cheese stick, a yogurt, something quick and easy if you're like super busy, things like that. But give it something, give it some sort of fuel, okay? That's gonna help you to not wanna go so crazy later on, all right? All right, my friend, feed your body. Okay, so I want you to think about like responding to the messages that your hunger is actually sending you. You know, when we want to make sure that we're eating when we're hungry. So really notice those feelings. All right, notice what is that signal? What is it? Well, what's coming in? Almost like, you know, like back in the day when you had the antenna on the TV, right? And it was catching the signal, and it's starting to come in. And what is that signal? Is it a growling stomach? Is it a feeling in the back of your throat? Is it a headache? Is it a little fatigue? You know I feel it in the back of my throat, and I definitely get fatigued. Like, yeah, like it's time to refuel. I need more energy. Those are all my signals that, okay, time to eat. I'm hungry. Let's go find something right now. Not a half hour from then or an hour from then, but like right then, because I don't want to set myself up for making those poor food choices or eating more than what I normally would have. That's going to actually make my body feel good. Okay? So I want to refuel in a way that's giving me energy. Just like when you put gas back in your car, it's giving it energy to run. And same thing when we eat. We want to eat in a way that, okay, I'm starting to feel hungry. Okay, let's fuel up. I'm going to eat now. So let's eat, and let's eat to a point where I'm feeling really, really good. I'm feeling energized again. Go past that point, then you start to feel a little sluggish. You don't want to go past that point, all right? When we overeat, it doesn't feel so good, and it's a little uncomfortable. And when we feel kind of ick or a little sluggish, right? We want to eat for energy. We want to fuel our bodies and give ourselves energy, and that's how you can kind of think about it when you're eating, and know like when it's time to start eating, and then when it's time to actually stop eating. Okay? And that is eating in a way that feels really good to your body. It feels good to your body and your brain. Okay? And that is intuitive eating right there, my friends. So if you're giving yourself unconditional permission to eat all the foods, yes, it could be tough certainly if you've never done it before, but with practice, or, you know, of course, you have to be kind and be patient with yourself. That can go a long way too to getting yourself to your goals. Okay? So let me know if you have any questions about the content I just covered, or anything to do with your health, wellness, your goals. You want to chat? Let me know. I'm here. PM me, reach out to me. I'm also doing complimentary consultations. If you're thinking about switching from never having to diet again and just eat intuitively, which is so absolutely wonderful. Wish I found it so much sooner or learned of it sooner. But now that I'm doing it, I'm living it. I'm not restricting. I'm not binging. And I'm enjoying all the foods that I absolutely love. Nothing, I certainly don't deprive myself. Nothing is off the table. It's a great way to live, and it's not, I was miserable. I was miserable when I dieted and restricted and binged and yo-yoed, and constantly thinking about food and the next thing I was going to eat, and planning my binges for the weekend, and feeling like crap. And and then that cycle, it just went on and on and on. And I don't know how I lived that way for so long, to be honest with you. And now that I am eating intuitively, it has just been such a game changer, and I can literally feel it, like even in my heart, like I feel like that weight lifted, that the stress isn't there from having to think about, you know, what I can and can't have, or even having to weigh or measure things, because I counted macros for quite some time as well, which was good at the time for my goals of trying to build some more muscle, things like that. But even that, after a while, you know, the counting and measuring and weighing, and that got tiring and stressful, really. And I said, you know what, I don't want to have to count anything anymore. I don't want to have to worry about what's going into this recipe and measure every little thing out. If I just want a little sprinkle of this here and there, and there you go, done. Don't have to worry about it. Don't have to count it. Just eat it and enjoy it. And eat it in a way, again, while I'm honoring my hunger and respecting my fullness, and boom, there you go. I'm meeting my goals. Now I'm teaching it to my clients. They're killing their goals, and it's a nice mind, body, de-stressing experience, and that is just what helps you get to your goals. So if you have any questions about intuitive eating or anything about your own health and wellness goals, let me know. I'm happy to chat with you. Just PM me. And if there's no questions now, I'm going to hop off. But I hope everyone has a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.